I'm hoping that we're going to talk about promotion today. Is that kind of what's left on that we're so far screwed up, is ahead of the schedule and behind the schedule? And say again? Do we have class on Thursday? As far as I know. Isn't Veterans Day Friday?
I don't know, because it said on the schedule.
Oh, I'll have to double check the schedule then. Oh, that's right, because it's Chavez Day.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, if it says we don't have class on the schedule, we don't have class on the schedule. I'm really good about not having class when we don't have class. That's kind of my specialty. In fact, I sometimes do that even when class is scheduled. Okay, so we are going to talk about promotion. And this is, see, we've talked about product, price, distribution. I saved this one for last because this is the fun one. This is what everybody thinks about when they think about marketing, and everybody is an expert on advertising. We have been consumers since, as before we could read. There is evidence that children's, right after Mama and Papa, children's first words are Ronald McDonald and Nike. They're starting to get brand preferences by the age 2. So we're going to talk about promotion. The fourth P, what is it? Well, it's communication. Essentially, it's all of the communication that supports the marketing effort. Remember, in order to have a transaction, there needs to be 2 parties and there needs to be a means of communication. This is what we're going to do. And business communication is no different than personal communication, except for one big difference, is that you have to pay for business communication. The purpose might be the same, to exchange information, to persuade, to get people to do what you want them to do, but the difference is for business communication, you have to pay for it, which means that, if you haven't heard this in this class already, strategy first. What is it that you are trying to accomplish with this investment, and how will you measure the results? There are 4 basic roles for communication: inform, persuade, remind, and build relationships. That seems pretty obvious. And as we started to talk, all of these 4 Ps are kind of interrelated. So we talked before about the consumer buying process. Can anybody make a stab as to what would be the appropriate communication strategy at the problem recognition stage? Inform? Okay. I will give 75% credit for that one, if I was giving credit. Any others? Think about what we talked about when we talked about the consumer buying process, and what is some of the stuff that's going on that help people recognize that they have a problem when you tell them they have a problem. Are you suffering from migraine headaches? What's the other? I know it's really confusing because there's 4 on the left-hand side and 5 on the right-hand side, and I'm not sure which one goes twice. So we talked about triggers, right? Would remind be appropriate? Remember McDonald's, remember Coke. How about during the evaluate alternative stage? What would be the appropriate strategy? Persuade. Say again? Persuade. Persuade? Yeah, I think that's a good one. How about during the identify alternative stage? And you're thinking to yourselves, why is he wasting our time with this mindless exercise when we could be doing so many more important things, like having coffee with our friends? So why am I doing this? You got me, Professor. You're in the front of the room, I'm in the back. You just tell me what's going to be on the test, and I'll pay attention to that point. So there's a couple things. One is just to demonstrate that these are related, but the other one is I was trying to trick you, which is why you don't want to raise your hand. I understand that. there's a natural tendency for the inner OCD in all of us to want to go, well, the first one goes with the first one, and the second one goes with the second one, and the third one goes with the third one, and the fourth one goes with the fourth one, right? And then, yeah, what do you do with that fifth? Because there's two. Which one do you have to use twice? And just, again, get away from trying to match, because that's what those matching questions we used to have on tests, and just to think about what am I trying to accomplish at each stage of the process and what might be an appropriate strategy. Similarly, here we got the the product life cycle, which is our second P, or that's our first P, yeah. And we've got the various stages. What would be the appropriate strategy during the introductory phase of the product life cycle? So what are we trying to do during the introductory phase of the product life cycle? Educate? Yeah, yeah. There's a kind of demand we're trying to get. It's not junior high demand, it's primary demand. Yeah, initial demand, that works too. I'm more interested in the concept than the actual words that you use. So yeah, you got to inform because you're trying to explain what's going on. How about during the decline stage? What's the appropriate communication strategy during the decline stage? Build relationships. And you guys are saying, why do I come to class? I don't have to be here. I can just watch this online and don't have to get harassed by this merciless professor. Build relationships. Any other thoughts during the decline phase? So what's going on during the decline phase? What's our strategy? We have two strategies during the decline phase. Say again? Remind, reinforce. What are we trying to accomplish? What are the two strategies that we use during the decline stage?
Cut costs.
Did I mention that the final is comprehensive? Cut costs. Good. And what's the term that we use for that when we cut costs? Has to do with cows. Milking the product. And if we can't milk the product, what do we do? Divest, sell it, get rid of it, discontinue. So if our objective is to cut costs or to sell it, what's the appropriate communication strategy? That's correct. There is no correct information. There is no appropriate strategy because why are you wasting money on communications with a product that has no future and all you're trying to do is squeeze out the last few cents of profit before it totally goes away? Yeah, so two trick questions before like the first 10 minutes is up. We've set the stage.